You're listening to the Online Business Blueprint brought to you by PlatformLaunchers.com. I'm John Stange, and it's great to be with you this week, as always, because here we talk about building and growing and monetizing your online platform. We talk about taking your passion, turning it into a platform, and helping you earn a paycheck through that. And this week, we're going to be talking about why Christians should impact culture through online content creation. This is something that I do as a Christian. I try to create all sorts of content. And before we even segue into this, and I've got a few reasons why I think Christians should do this, I just want to highlight and introduce one of the members of our members club, our membership community here inside Platform Launchers, Ben Fuller. Ben Fuller, join me on mic here and tell us a little bit about the project that you have been working on as you've been serving your audience. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, John, thanks so much for having me. And yeah, I'm excited to announce the launch of my business. It's called Undecided Student. And I love working with students. I've worked with students for 15 years as a college and career counselor, mostly helping students figure out what they want to do next with their life. And so that's why I started Undecided Student. If you have undecided students, I want them to go there. And I have a Find Your Path program. That's a coaching program that includes one-on-one coaching sessions and all this career assessments, 360 insight surveys, so people around you can pour into your life. And so yeah, I'm excited for that to get rolling. And
I love it. I love the domain too.
Yeah.
Undecidedstudent.com.
Undecidedstudent.com. You can go there and have a free offer right now. If people want to take advantage of that, I like the topic you're talking about. This is a faith-based guide to creating your personal purpose statement. So if people want to check that out, they can head over to undecidedstudent.com.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us, Ben. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Love it. Yeah, super excited about that. Well, like I mentioned, this week we're talking about why Christians should impact culture through online content creation. And if you look at the pattern here, in every generation, not just our generation, every generation that's come before us, followers of Christ have been called to be, what does the Bible tell us? In Matthew 5, it tells us we're called to be salt and light in the world. And in our current age, when you think about the things that shape our culture is not only shaped in pulpits, it's not only shaped in public squares, it's shaped on screens. And people, I think many of us could make a good argument that screens are doing more to influence culture than just about anything else. You've got social media, you've got podcasts, you've got blogs, you've got YouTube channels, you've got countless digital platforms becoming basically the new public arenas where worldviews are formed, values are transmitted, hearts are influenced. It's all going on in this digital world. And I think personally for Christians, this presents both a tremendous opportunity and, I would also argue, a profound responsibility. And just recently, it dawned on me that this is the start of my 30th year in pastoral ministry. I couldn't believe it. I spent 2 years as a youth pastor, and now the past 28 years I've been serving as a lead pastor. So it's the 30th year of my pastoral ministry. And I have to tell you, I'm honestly surprised at how quickly the past few decades have gone. When I first started in this role, I certainly had hopes of impacting the lives of others, particularly in their walk with Jesus. And I thought that would primarily be done through my preaching and through my discipleship efforts. I even envisioned doing some writing and some other things, but there was no way, absolutely no way that I could foresee the modern digital landscape 30 years ago. When I was starting my ministry, I mean, who could foresee this? Who could see the opportunities that exist with all sorts of things, YouTube channels, social media, podcasts, all of this, right? It's amazing. And I look at this now, and I look at the opportunities that the Lord's placed before me and before you, and I think about this all the time. Now, in this era, 30 years since starting my pastoral ministry, I'm able to reach millions of people, literally millions of people each year through my podcasts, through my blog posts, through my books, through my ebooks, through my videos, all sorts of things, right? And I look at this and I think, all right, my ability to reach new people with the gospel of Jesus Christ has exponentially grown. And I used to think in local terms, like many of us do, but increasingly, the Lord has been teaching me to think globally. When it comes to this digital content and the things that He gives me the opportunity to do, I'm able to think globally and impact things globally right here from my desk in Pennsylvania, right here from this microphone in Pennsylvania. Online content creation has become a major facet of my overall mission and my overall ministry. And I think some would argue that it's probably the area or the domain in which I've been able to make the most impact as far as sharing the Christian faith. With that said, I have to say, I think it's vital for other Christians to join me in this, right? This isn't just me. This isn't just a few of us. Let's all band together and do this. It's vital for Christians to step up into this world of online content creation and to start using it to impact the culture for the glory of God. And I'll tell you what, if you have been considering doing something similar to what I've been doing online, I just want to offer a few words of encouragement that I hope will inspire you in your specific content creation journey. And I just want to give a few words of inspiration or encouragement here related to this and a few principles that I hope that you'll find useful if you've been thinking about doing something like this. And the first principle I want to share is this: the gospel travels to where people are. The gospel travels to where people are. In the early church, so travel with me in your mind, 2,000 years back in the past, in the early church, during that era, you had missionaries like the Apostle Paul. And what did the Apostle Paul do during that era? Well, he traveled on Roman roads to bring the gospel to the known world of his day. Today, we have a road. It's a digital highway of sorts, and it gives us a similar path. Billions of people are literally spending hours each day online, scrolling through social feeds, watching videos, listening to podcasts, doing all sorts of things like that. And half the podcasts out there now are becoming video as well. And if the gospel is truly good news for all people, it deserves to be proclaimed where the people are. Online content allows Christians to reach into homes, into workplaces, into churches, and into hearts in ways where it was impossible to do that just decades ago. I think a well-timed post, a well-timed video, a well-timed podcast or blog could be the very thing that God uses to draw someone closer to Christ. Again, the gospel travels to where people are. Second principle that I want to highlight this week, and that's this: silence leaves a void. What do I mean by that? Well, culture doesn't remain neutral. If Christians choose to stay silent online, that silence actually leaves a bit of a vacuum that's really going to be filled with other voices, many of which are hostile to biblical truth, many of which are hostile to moral clarity or to redemptive hope. And it's not that just that bad content will prevail. It's that redemptive, truth-filled voices are missing from the conversation altogether. I mean, how many of us wish that there would be more Christians creating content that we could personally consume? And while we're waiting around for other people to do it, maybe God's looking at you and saying, no, you do it. And I think creating online content, I mean, it's so helpful, but it's not just about dominating the conversation. It's about being present in it. When believers speak with wisdom and with grace and with conviction in the digital space, they become beacons of light in a noisy world. And so I just want to remind us that silence leaves a void, and we want to make sure that that void is ultimately filled with something that's going to build somebody up in their walk with Christ. Third principle that I want to highlight this week, and that's this: content creation is an act of stewardship. It's one of my favorite words, stewardship. Are we stewarding what the Lord entrusts to us? Content creation is an act of stewardship. God gives each of us gifts. If you're a follower of Christ, you have been gifted in supernatural ways. Some of us have been gifted with just various forms of creativity or the ability to teach, or some of us are gifted storytellers. Some of us are gifted with wisdom or with humor or with insight. And we're gifted in these ways not just for our own benefit. We've been gifted in these ways, the Bible tells us, to build others up and to point them to Christ. We see that in a variety of places. 1 Peter chapter 4 talks about that quite a bit. Other places in Scripture talk about that. Ephesians 4, Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 12. Content creation is an act of stewardship where you get to use your gift. Online platforms offer an incredible outlet to steward the gifts that you have been given by God. So, whether it's through writing devotionals, I know that there are at least several who are live on this call with me right now who are gifted writers. So, it could be through writing devotionals, it could be through sharing biblical insights on social media, it could be through creating, if you're musical, maybe you create some music videos, something like that, designing gospel-centered art, content creation of any kind. Really, it could become an act of worship. It could also become an act of stewardship. It's a way to multiply the gifts that God has entrusted to us. Content creation really is an act of stewardship. A fourth principle that I'd like to share is this: faithful content creators are able to counter despair with hope. Think about that for just a second. Much of the internet is fueled by anxiety or outrage or confusion. I mean, tons of it is, right? And people are overwhelmed with conflicting messages about identity, about purpose, about truth. And in that kind of environment, the environment that we're presented with every single day, content that points directly to Jesus stands out. I have to tell you, yesterday and today, 2 days in a row, I received messages from friends who are struggling with various forms of despair. I won't go into all the details, but I'll give you the broad picture. One of the friends that, someone I've known for decades, he reached out to me yesterday and told me that his wife is planning on leaving him. And I was devastated to hear that. He told me his wife is planning on leaving him. I thought that was so sad to hear. Another friend I heard from today, he's just dealing with some problems at work, but things that kind of strike him in a deeper way. It hurts in a deeper way. I have to tell you, when I hear things like that in the lives of some of my friends, it's my personal desire to offer encouragement to these men. But it's also my desire to offer encouragement to anyone who may be enduring a difficult season of life. And when you think about this through the lens of online content creation and the fact that faithful content creators are able to counter despair with hope, a short post that you share online that reminds someone of God's faithfulness can encourage a weary heart. A testimonial video that you decide to put out there can offer hope to someone who maybe right now is battling despair in this particular season of life. A blog exploring biblical truth from your particular lens. It can anchor somebody who may be going through a season where they're just drifting with spiritual confusion. Faithful Christian content serves as a lighthouse in the midst of modern digital culture. And that's something that we ought to consider. We're doing a favor for other people who are trying to get through their day-to-day walk and need some encouragement. You offer that needed encouragement. Consider that something that's a privilege that you get to participate in. All right, a fifth principle that I want to share this week is this: digital content multiplies ministry impact. I think about this a lot as a pastor living in this particular era, because I think one of the most exciting aspects of online content is its exponential reach. It can reach far beyond what we initially envisioned. A sermon preached in a local church. So our church, we see anywhere from 150 to 220 people on a given Sunday. And so that's certainly a privilege. I love the fact that that's a group of people that I have the privilege to serve. But a sermon preached in a local church may bless that many people, 200 people gathered together in a room. That's a lovely thing. But that same message shared online can reach thousands across the globe. In fact, very recently, I had the opportunity to share a sermon that I had preached to our church family that got shared in multiple ways online, that ended up in the course of that same week that it was preached live in front of several hundred people. It ended up reaching over 70,000 people online. And I think about that as a Philadelphia Eagles fan. That's about how many people can fit in the Eagles stadium, the Lincoln Financial Field. That stadium can fit roughly 70,000 people. And I remember when that sermon got shared online and was downloaded 70,000 times, I thought to myself, okay, 70,000 people heard something that initially only reached 200 people, right? Now, I will say this: digital content does not replace the importance of the local church by any means, and it also doesn't replace the importance of personal discipleship. But again, it does extend the reach of faithful ministry. So our blogs, our podcasts, our videos, our graphics, these are things that can be shared, they can be rewatched, they can be translated, which is amazing. When you think about these things globally, these are things that can be reused in certain contexts where maybe people need teaching resources to encourage them in a variety of ways. These are powerful tools for long-term impact, and digital content multiplies ministry impact. So think about that if you're deciding to be a content creator. This is something worth considering as we're creating the content we create. A sixth principle is this: content creation actually builds bridges for the gospel. Not, and as much as, as I've been serving in local church ministry, and I would love for people to walk through the doors of our local church, some people aren't ready for that, right? Not everybody's ready to walk into the doors of a church building, but many people are willing to watch a YouTube video or listen to a podcast or read a blog. Online content can be the first step in someone's spiritual journey. It can be an entry point to deeper questions or deeper conversations or deeper relationships. These are very important things to consider. And so by creating thoughtful, relevant content that addresses real life issues through a biblical lens, Christians can build bridges with unbelievers or with skeptics or with the spiritually curious. It's not about arguing people into the kingdom, but it is about meeting them where they are and lovingly pointing them toward Christ. So again, content creation builds bridges to the gospel. But one other point that I want to make this week, one other idea that I want to share, and that's this: we are called by Christ to disciple the nations. And I think that that doesn't just mean in our one-to-one relationships, that also means how we steward the tool that he's given us of the internet, right? So this idea of discipling the nations, that also means doing this online. When you look at the Great Commission, so that's found in Matthew chapter 28, when you get to verses 19 and 20, there we're called to make disciples of all nations. We're called to make disciples of all nations. But here's the thing: most of us are not going to personally visit all of those nations, yet we're called to make disciples of all nations. Well, living in a digital age, we've been given a wonderful tool, because that mission can now include discipling people through the online means that have been entrusted to us. And content creation isn't just about evangelism, it's also about teaching, it's also about equipping, it's also about encouraging believers. But it's the idea of fulfilling that great commission of making disciples of all nations, and sometimes you could do that right from your home, which is just an amazing thing when you think about it. That's just a unique privilege that we have in this era of history. Online Bible studies, Christian education videos, theological blogs, devotional series, they can all help us fulfill this call. My most popular podcast is the Chapter a Day audio Bible. I read the Bible every day online, and I pray with people online every single day, and I've been doing that every day without missing a day since 2016. And what ends up happening is that people grow in their walk with the Lord. In some places where it's not even legal to own a Bible, you have people listening to that podcast. And I look at this and I think, through the internet, we can walk with fellow believers throughout this world. We can encourage people who are spiritually curious. We can help people grow in their faith. We can help people grow in their maturity, even if we never have the opportunity to meet them in person this side of heaven. It's a beautiful opportunity. We are called to disciple the nations, and that includes doing that online. Now, let me just wrap this up. This felt very much like preaching this week, but I really like preaching, and so thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that. But I just want to encourage us to be a faithful presence for Christ in a digital world. Being a Christian content creator, that's something I consider myself to be, and that's something that I know many of you who listen to this podcast consider yourself to be, and many who are in the Platform Launchers Members Club consider themselves to be. Being a Christian content creator, it doesn't mean you need millions of followers. It doesn't mean you need millions of viral videos or clicks or anything like that. But what it does mean is this: be faithful. Be faithful to use your voice, to use your story, to use your creativity to honor Christ and serve others. And do this, think about this through a lens of faithfulness, whether your platform is big or small. Your influence can be eternal. And it doesn't even matter so much what your primary subject is. You can be a Christian witness in whatever your primary topic is. Maybe you're someone like my friend Ben Fuller, who, helps undecided students at undecidedstudents.com. and just helps them from a faith-based perspective. Maybe you're someone like my friend Jennifer Harshman, who helps people at editorschool.com. Maybe you're somebody like, just any one of our friends who really try and be a Christian witness in their mission field. You can help people, you can serve others, whether your platform is big, whether it's new, whether it's small. Your influence can be felt in eternal ways as you seek to be a blessing to others with the love of Christ. And I have to tell you, we need more voices online that speak with truth, that speak in a loving way, that create beauty that reflects our Creator, people who offer grace in a world that desperately needs it. If you feel the nudge to create content, follow that nudge. It might just be God inviting you to step into your mission field in a way that maybe earlier in your life you didn't even realize was possible. I just want to encourage you with a little pep talk here. Pick up your camera, open up your laptop, hit record. This world is listening, and eternity is worth the effort. And I just want to encourage you to just step out into your mission field and go for it. You'll be surprised at how many people you have the opportunity to genuinely impact as you do this. Before we wrap up, I also want to remind you, stop over at our website, platformlaunchers.com. Got a lot of resources over there that I'm certain can be of help to you. You can also check out my faith-based website, BibleStudyHeadquarters.com. I've got a lot over there as well. And I also blog for Christianity.com. Check it out. Would love to have you on any one of these platforms. But that's it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to be able to spend this time with you and really just think about how we can glorify Christ through creating digital content together. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to catching up with you again right here next time. And in the meantime, take care.